president has made so many conflicting statements. He has switched from one position to the other even in the same day, as recently as yesterday. And I'm wondering, when you watched that in Helsinki, what was your gut reaction watching him validate Vladimir Putin's assessment over yours?
Well, my thoughts there were that I believed I needed to correct the record for that, and that this is the job I signed up for, and that was my responsibility. Obviously, I wished he had made a different statement, but I think that now that has been clarified based on his late reactions to this. And so I don't think I want to go any further than that.
Well, in the cabinet room, one of the statements that you refer to, his clarifications, he said, "I accept our intelligence community's conclusion that Russia's meddling in the 2016 election took place. Could be other people also." Could be other people also? What does he know that you don't know?
Well, could is not a definitive word here. That I mean, could someone else be looking at how to do this relative to our elections, possibly rogue states, whatever? We know others have potential capability, but it's undeniable that the Russians are taking the lead on this. Basically, they are the ones that are trying to undermine our basic values, divide us with our allies. They are the ones that are trying to wreak havoc over our election process. We need to call them out on that. It's critical that we do so, and to then take steps to make sure that they are not able to do this with the election coming up. Learn the lessons from the past, put in place the things that we need to put in place in terms of making sure that we can guarantee to the American public when they walk in that voting booth and cast their vote, however they cast it, it is a valid vote. It will not be tampered with. And whatever result comes from these elections is something the American people can have confidence in, that it was not manipulated by anyone, whether that was externally or internally. We know politically there have been times when parties have tried to manipulate the votes one way or another. That just simply is not acceptable. The very pillar basics of democracy is the ability to have confidence in your elected officials that they were elected legitimately, and we have to take every effort to ensure that that happens in this upcoming election and future elections.
And just to nail this down, the 2017 intelligence assessment of the community, the findings said Putin and the Russian government developed a clear preference for President-elect Trump. 18 months later, has anything changed that would make it more or less certain that it was Vladimir Putin in charge of that?
Well, I don't want to get too far into what the investigation that's going on and what they may produce from that.
But in terms of the intelligence assessment?
Well, we just continue to provide intelligence that we achieve relative to our customers, which is the president, which are the policymakers in the White House, which is our oversight committees in the House and the Senate, and that basis that is available to them, and we will keep doing that. Relative to what's coming in 2018, as Director Nielsen said this morning, DHS does not have evidence of the fact that anywhere near what happened in 2016. However, despite that, we absolutely cannot just rest on that assumption. As I mentioned in my speech at Hudson just a week ago or so, it's just one click of the keyboard that could change this narrative. And so we have to be ever vigilant on this, and I think we have to be relentless in terms of calling out the Russians for what they've done. We have to be vigilant in terms of putting steps in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. More transparency we can have relative to this issue, the better.
Men and women who work for you are working around the clock.
They are.
Around the world, and putting their lives on the line in many cases to make sure that our democracy is safe. What do you say to them when the president disavows their work, or others in our government disavows their work and criticize their work?
I say to our people also around the world and in the 16 agencies within the United States, I say to them, we are professionals. We are here to provide professional service to our government. We need to keep our heads down. We need to go forward with the wonderful technological capabilities that we have to produce intelligence. There's a lot of swirl, political swirl going around. Just do your jobs. Our goal is to make unpoliticized information necessary for our policymakers to make good decisions. And so try to get up every morning, go to work, do your job. If you have thinking in one way or another way relative to a plus or a minus, set that aside. You go home and think about it, whatever. But the product that you are putting together has to be absent from any kind of political manipulation.
In Helsinki, the president was alone with Vladimir Putin for 2 hours, more than 2 hours, with only translators. Basically, how do you know what happened? You were on the dark side of the moon. How do you have any idea what happened in that meeting?
Well, you're right. I don't know what happened in that meeting. I think as time goes by, and the president has already mentioned some things that happened in that meeting, I think we will learn more. But that is the president's prerogative. If he had asked me how that ought to be conducted, I would have suggested a different way. But that's not my role. That's not my job. So it is what it is.
Is there a risk that Vladimir Putin could have recorded it?
That risk is always there.